Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Welcome to another episode of the Dynamic Dilettante. It is great to have you along. We have been, it's kind of like video game mania here lately.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether it's talking about the PS4, PS2 games, because I have been buying a bunch of old PS2 games, finding a lot of fun in the PS2 again. That was a console that I really, really enjoyed. And so Katie and I kind of got to talk. I've always been a PlayStation fan. Started out initially with, as we've talked about before, Commodore 64 computer, kind of worked my way up, Super Nintendo. And then from Super Nintendo, I made the jump to PlayStation 4, which is a great console. Absolutely love it. But you went on a bit of a different path from mine.
Welcome to the Dynamic Dilettante. Sam is taking over and we need to talk about some video games tonight.
It's the automatic mouth for the Commodore 64. I just cannot escape Sam.
No, Sam's here. I think Sam's going to eventually put us both out of a job.
In my case, that's not so hard.
No, so recently, kind of what all brought this around is that a couple weeks ago I was watching Xbox and Bethesda. Got to make sure I say it correctly. They were doing their annual game showcase. This is what they all have coming out. And I remember hearing about it back in January, I think, of last year or something like that, where Microsoft had bought out Bethesda. Or I guess it would technically be ZeniMax Studios. So it's like Obsidian, Bethesda. I think there's 23 different studios under that umbrella. And one of the things that didn't quite click is that one of the reasons Microsoft has been going on this buying tirade, or tyrant, whatever you want to call it, is one of the drawbacks to the Xbox is that they always have had lackluster exclusive video games. Whereas, so now, and it didn't really dawn on me because you're a huge Fallout fan, and there's a number of other Bethesda titles that you're fond of. I'm like, hey, Greg, we'll never see another Fallout 5 or whatever on. We weren't too sad about Fallout 76, but you'll never see another Fallout 5 on PS5 or PlayStation platform.
Right.
And so you're just talking a little bit about it, and that's where I'm like I said, we're not cutting edge on this by any stretch of the means. I mean, this is a year old, but it didn't really dawn on me that, Bethesda's a studio I really enjoy myself. There's a lot of different games that they have that I enjoy.
Yeah, they made some great games. And I loved Fallout 4. I thought Fallout 76, and we've talked about it before, Fallout 76 was a terrible miss. Just the colors were bad. The decision to go multiplayer instead of a solo player game, that did not appeal to me at all. I'm a solo player when I play video games.
Yeah.
I'm not one to want to get I have done it before. I've played with some other people. But I prefer, especially the Fallout 4 game was so immersive. Mm-hmm. And then to say, hey, we're going to do something totally new. We're going to go multiplayer. I'm like, that did not excite me at all.
No, it didn't. And then additionally, I know one of the games they'd featured this last weekend was Starfield, which I thought was pretty interesting. I mean, it's basically if you would take No Man's Sky, combination of Mass Effect and then
which
Fallout.
You really liked. You were a big fan of Mass Effect.
I really do enjoy Mass Effect, which
it was fun.
Also,
I gotta start that over again. Work my way up.
There you go. And then, I mean, it's a combination of that and basically Fallout 4, except it's established in space. And,
right.
There's there's some parts of it that look like Elite Dangerous. There's some parts of it that look like those various different games. But again, yeah, it's an Xbox exclusive. And so I know that it kind of prompted the conversation with you. Hey, so are we going to switch? Because, you kind of got me hooked on the PlayStation. I mean, first console I ever bought for myself was an Xbox, and then I had bought the 360, and then I think I can't remember if I bought the one right after it. No, I didn't, because it was a black one. So it would have been the 360 Elite. That's what I got.
Okay.
So I mean, those were the first consoles I had, and then I'd never really been beholden to one platform, or I'm kind of, I'll take whatever I can play on. If it's a PC, great. If it's a Nintendo, great. It just doesn't matter. But when it comes
and I'm very much the same way.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of committed to PlayStation now because that's what I've been playing on for a number of years.
What, almost 2 decades?
Yeah, when you consider PlayStation 2 and then jumping to PlayStation 4. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's where I'm just like, hey, is this something where you'd ever consider switching to Xbox? Because I know you just tend to favor the PlayStation just a little bit more. Well, that led us down the rabbit hole, and the next day, I think I ended up ordering an Xbox. But for me, it kind of sold me, the thing that sold me.
You know what was fun for me? Watching how excited you were no, seriously, how excited you were to buy an Xbox. And I thought, I really enjoyed that because I know that excitement for me. I certainly have felt it with PlayStation, but I wouldn't say that's the only console for me. I'm not going to play any other console.
No.
I mean, I just haven't played Xbox. I was, as I said, PS2, then into PS4. I'd bought my son at one point a PS3. So I was just kind of on that road.
Right.
I didn't have any aversion to the Xbox. I just never had, previously, I've never had a chance to play it.
Yeah. And the thing that sold me on the Xbox originally was Halo. And that's what kind of got me into that. But yeah, so, and now I was looking at it, it's like, well, Game Pass kind of has me a little geared towards, considering the breadth of the library they've got available on console. And again, probably in the last 2-3 years, I've done more PC gaming probably than I've done anything. And I've gotten used to that just because a lot of those games are available that, were one or the other. Were available
because
on
you're
PC.
playing Fallout 4 now, right?
Yeah.
On PC.
Yep. I just booted it back up the other night.
Right.
Cheat mods and all, and oh gosh, I think I broke the game.
Oh, I love the cheat mods.
But it kind of comes down to like, okay, so if we're sitting and looking at exclusives that each one of these platforms has, a lot of these ones that are coming out on Xbox now are also available cross-platform on the PC, but they're not available to PlayStation. And one of the selling points with PlayStation has always been they've always had better exclusives. The ones that come to mind right off the top of my head are like God of War, which I personally have not had an opportunity to play.
My son loves it.
Right.
He's played God of War. And he really, really enjoys it.
And then, Spider-Man, and then Spider-Man Miles Morales, and those. I love the Spider-Man games. Those were great. And they're not releasing, if I remember right, on PC until I think next year, maybe.
Okay.
I thought I had heard. But I mean, are those exclusive games enough to pull you to one platform over another?
Not really. I mean, it's more of once you buy a platform, you're kind of, all right, I've already invested now hundreds of dollars in one platform. Right. It just makes, to buy another platform, I always looked at that and said, well, with the money that I spend on that platform, I could be buying a whole lot more games.
Right. Yeah.
Well, for the PlayStation. So why should I buy another platform?
Yeah.
When you talked about getting the platform, it's an entirely different conversation. We talked about sharing the responsibility of purchasing that. Yep. And I thought, well, in a situation like that, I'm totally for it. I think it would be fun. I look forward to it.
And the thing for me that kind of sold me towards the Xbox, because the 2 new next-gen consoles you're pretty much looking at right now are going to be your PS5 or your Xbox One X.
Right.
And the thing that kind of sold me to the Xbox was, and you can attest to this, PlayStation Now, I think, or PlayStation, whatever their live streaming kind of.
I get confused by
they
those.
have
There's PS Now
such a
and
convoluted naming scheme.
It's bad. Yeah.
But
PS Now, I think, is the one we're talking about. Yeah.
And then they just relaunched it, I think, within the last 2 weeks as well.
I'm thinking about getting it again.
but as opposed to like Xbox Game Pass, which I'm like, I've been ditzing around with that because I got a trial pack for it for the PC. And every game I've wanted from Bethesda, Activision, you name it, it's on there. And like, well, heck, I'm sorry, EA, not Activision, my bad. Because Activision and Blizzard are now in the works too of being bought out by Microsoft. And you look at what they spent for Bethesda, which was $7.9 billion. Now, bear in mind, I think Disney paid like $3 billion for LucasArts.
Yeah, it's incredible.
They're looking at
70. You look at the billions and billions that are getting tossed around.
Yeah.
And it's pretty significant. And I think it speaks to the power that those companies have in terms of the entertainment that they're producing.
Right. But I mean, for this Activision Blizzard deal, they're looking at $70 billion. So 10 times the cost of what they bought Bethesda for.
Incredible.
Or ZeniMax, I guess.
Yeah.
But you say ZeniMax, nobody knows what ZeniMax is. You say Bethesda, people know what Bethesda is. So I don't know. For me, I'm kind of excited to get a new console again. Like I said, I like playing on the PC, but the one downside to playing on a PC is I can't sit in my comfy couch with a nice big TV and sit and kick back and play a video game.
There is something about that. I enjoy that playing on the PS4. We've got to hooked up to our television, and so it's a pretty comfortable situation. And even as blind as I'm getting, I can see the screen pretty well.
You got to enjoy when you can kick up the text on it. So, I don't know. It'll be like learning new things again, and I'll be happy to have a console again.
Well, and I definitely will.
Yeah.
Because I have, as I say, I certainly know of the Xbox, familiar with it, but I have not played on it previously. I just have not spent any serious amount of time at all on an Xbox.
And it'll give you a good excuse to go through and play Fallout again.
Right.
Got to get familiar with it.
It still remains, for me, one of the best games of all time was Fallout 4. Just a great game.
And like I said, after I've been playing it on the computer here, and like I said, they've released some new their unofficial filter texture packs for them through the modifications. But I mean, some of the mods that people have done for texture packs and whatnot for it, I mean, they make the game just look amazing. It looked good as it was, but I mean, it's less glitchy. It's less. I mean, yes, the game's almost 10 years old at this point, but
that's amazing to me, though, that people love that game so much that they get in and they're programming textures and these backgrounds and these other areas and new cities, and they are designing from literally. I mean, these are fans. These are people. So it's slow. It's prodding. It takes time. These are people, obviously, who've got other jobs, and in their spare time, they're crafting all of that stuff. And when you think about that truly is a labor of love then for people who have enjoyed that game.
So, I mean, it's got a huge modding community. So, I mean, it keeps things interesting. I mean, there's
and that's kind of always been the case for Fallout.
Right.
Fallout 4, I mean.
Because we were watching some stuff on, there are people still modding on, like, Fallout Las Vegas.
Yeah, New Vegas.
Yep. I'm sorry, not Las Vegas.
That's all
New
right.
Vegas. In that game.
And that's what's odd is because Fallout New Vegas was actually made by Obsidian.
Mm-hmm.
And Fallout 4 was made by Bethesda. And it's like, okay, what happened there? I think each of those games is great in their own way. Fallout New Vegas, I loved. In fact, you and I were watching a video on that last week. Somebody was going through the game in detail, talking about how much fun it was, and I'm like, I want to play Fallout New Vegas again.
See, and so since you wanted to play it again, it gave me an excuse to get a new console.
Right.
At least that's what I'm going to keep telling myself.
Well, I'll be there.
And like I said, playing on the computer's great, but at the end of the day, I just would rather play on TV.
Well, because I wasn't sure, because you seem to enjoy on the computer as well some of the games that you're currently playing on the computer.
I think it depends what I'm playing. If it's a shooter, I'd much rather play on the computer because I'm terrible when it comes to FPS shooters on the computer. with a with a console or controller. I'm just terrible. But with a mouse, I'm a lot faster. But I think that's kind of anybody who plays with a mouse. It's a lot easier.
I mean, I just would have to say I love the PS4, and I was glad I bought the system. We've gotten just a lot of hours of entertainment from the PS4. Both in turn, not only of games, gameplay, but also the
we
mods and so on that we can run through it, and the
we've been using it for streaming services for years before we picked up the Fire Stick. We've been using it as the Blu-ray player. We've been using it as
Blu-ray player. Absolutely, I love that.
Yep.
In fact, it should have occurred to me a long time ago. One of the things I've hated about using it as a Blu-ray player is trying to use the controller. Okay, what the hell is what? How do I go back? How do I pause this thing? Because I'll hit a button and I think that'll be pause, and no, it skips forward. It's just, I hate that stuff. So now tonight I'm like, I'm going to get a remote control, a handheld remote, so I can point at that thing and actually know what it is I'm doing instead of all constantly. What a mess.
And I think that's as I'm asking you, hey, Greg, do we need a remote for the Xbox too?
Yeah.
We don't have enough remotes.
Definitely. I know. And then you just get into remote hell where you've got...
Or they're lost behind the couch and they all look the same.
That's your doing. That's not me.
Me?
I don't lose them behind the couch. That's you. I don't know what you do when you... Each night. It's like you throw them in the air wherever they land.
And I blame them on the dog.
Yeah.
Funny. Yeah. I just, like I said, it's something different to look at because, like I said, you see this a lot, though. I mean, these titles are going more and more exclusive. They're not seeing as many cross-platform ones. But yeah, it'll be different to see. But like I said, you and I neither of us are. It's the game we like. We'll go to where the game is.
Absolutely.
We're not, just beholden to one console or the other, one platform, or Lord knows.
Who knows? After I play Xbox, I may go, well, you know what? I like PlayStation 4 better. Yeah. But I would have to say I don't know that's a fair comparison because I've been playing it PS4 for a long time and PS2 prior to that.
Right.
So, that's a console I've been playing for a good 20 years.
Right. So you got a whole different generation. It's a whole different batch of hardware. It's a whole different set of capabilities that each one of those have.
I think they are both great in their own way. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But yes, I was a little sad to see Bethesda I'm like, oh, that didn't dawn on me. But yeah, that's kind of what spurred that topic is.
Yeah, after Fallout 76, though, I don't know if I'm all that broken up about it, honestly. You hated Fallout 76.
It was trash.
Did you not? That was a rental, right? You did a game rental initially for that?
I did a red box for it. And like I said, I'm glad I spent more time trying to load the game than I did to actually play the game. And it didn't jive with me.
And I know the colors because they were saying, okay, Fallout 76, the Earth, this is so many years later, so the world's kind of coming back, nature, we're going to see the trees, we're going to see flowering trees, all these things. And I thought, okay, color. And Fallout 76 was bland, it was pale, it was not, I thought Fallout 4 was far more colorful with the absence of complete color.
Right.
Was far more colorful and vibrant and sharp than Fallout 76. It just was not visually appealing.
Well, and the other thing that didn't really work for me was the gameplay with Fallout 76. I'm not a big one. I'm not super competitive when I play video games. So multiplayer games are not really my cup of tea. I prefer doing solo campaign play. So I want something that's got a really robust storyline, plot points, something I can really sink my teeth into. So for me, that's where Fallout 4 or say like Outer Worlds or Mass Effect or something like that was that geared that really resonated more with me than the multiplayer. The thing that when I first saw Fallout 76 come out, I mean, just knowing the little bit of like lore that's, around the Appalachian area where they set the game at, it'd have been great for a single player. But that's when like seeing the new like Starfield come out, I was pretty excited because that one is solo play.
And it looks great. You and I watched that. We watched some of they were teasing what will be coming out, and it's familiar to some of the other games, as you mentioned, to a couple of the other games. But I thought, okay, this is familiar, and it looked sharp, and I was excited by that. It looked good.
Yeah, it's got.
But then so did Fallout 76. Remember how initially when they were announcing that, we're like, oh, yeah, all right, Fallout 4. I absolutely love that game.
We won't see another Fallout game, though, for probably
I won't see it in my lifetime.
Unless you're going to heal over in the next 3 years.
I wonder whether I'll ever see a game that I enjoyed as much as that. I don't know that I ever will again. That was a great game.
I've heard Fallout 5 has been in production, but my guess would be we're not going to see it until about probably 2025, because they seem to go about every 10 years. So unless you're going to keel over the next 2 years.
Hurry up, Bethesda. Let's go. The clock is ticking.
But yeah, at least something to be excited about where it's not like
very much so.
Same crappy game, same, I don't know. Maybe it will be. Who
knows?
It'll
be interesting to see what Microsoft does, because they certainly, and you've seen this with Xbox. I mean, you and I were watching pieces on Xbox. They really made that fly at a time when nobody thought it was possible, and they really came together and had a vision for the Xbox, and it really has set the tone for PlayStation and all these other companies, Sony, that wanted to pursue game consoles.
Well, it's also nice that there's some competition, and it's not just a one market or a one console market, because otherwise it's kind of the same thing where you see it like PC component spaces. I mean, NVIDIA was always like, oh yeah, NVIDIA's my graphics card, and that's the only graphics card anybody would consider. But in the last 3-4 years, you've seen AMD really start pumping out a lot of hardware that can really go blow for blow with a lot of that stuff. So it drives those companies to be better. It keeps the market.
Competition always does that.
So that's it. They can't rest on their laurels. They have to put out good stuff. Otherwise they just get
and
squashed.
Sadly, Bethesda, you didn't do that with Fallout 76. Yuck. It was bad.
Well, now, so come on, Greg. You're going to go play the second we get this console up and running. I know you're going to be signing in to go play Fallout 76, The Pit. No. And I mean, one more rant. I got to get one more rant out of my system about
What's on your mind?
The other thing that really ticked me off about Fallout 76 is Fallout 4. You look at any of the other Fallout games or the ones that Obsidian makes, they've got really good NPCs. They've got good text. They've got good scripting. They've got funny scripting. It's got some really dark humor in it. But to me, that just sings my praises. It just sings to me. I just love that stuff. Fallout 76, it's all like text-based. They don't have any good characters you can really sink your teeth into.
Now, they've tried to change that, haven't they, in some of the updates where they're adding now NPCs that are finally notable?
But that thing is so far gone for me, I'm not even going to waste my time.
I just think it's too little too late.
Yeah.
They should have done that. Well, how long has that game been out? 3 years now? Couple of years at least.
2018, I think it came out. I'm just kidding.
So, I mean, that was something that should have been done from the get-go, and they just, again, I don't understand. Why do you take a great single-player game and then try to turn it into multiplayer? That I think that just had failure written all over it, and Bethesda should have known better. It was a bad idea.
Because if a little good is good, a lot's better. Come on. But, oh well, we'll wait and see. Like I said, Starfield's not coming out till next year, so we got some time.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. That looks interesting.
So hopefully they don't pitter that one down their leg.
Right. Good way to put it.
So what else do we got on the docket for tonight?
You tell me.
I'm
you
seeing
got it in front of you.
7 annoying things. Now this is a little different. 7 annoying things you're doing at a restaurant.
Right. This just, these are things, as I looked at these on the list, one of the things that people do, and they're saying, please don't do this. Don't snap your fingers. Who snaps their fingers at a waiter? Miss, sir, who does that? Seriously, I would faint if I saw you do that. Of course, you're one of the most reserved people I've ever seen. I can't imagine you ever snapping you ever snapped your fingers even at me? I don't think you have.
The only person in this room I snap my fingers at is laying on the.
Oh, the dynamic director?
Yeah, the dynamic director.
Also, they're saying you don't compare their food to another restaurant. So you don't go in and you don't, talk about the food elsewhere. Some of this is just such common sense to me. Never make unsolicited or unexpected physical contact with waitstaff.
You don't touch anybody that, it's one thing if you're going to walk up and give a handshake to somebody or something, but you never, ever touch anybody without their, and that's coming from somebody, if somebody gets within 6 feet of me, I'm just like cringe and I walk away.
But you're right. You just don't, especially, it's just one of those things. I have learned that you just do not, even if you want to put because I'm the kind of guy, me, I'd put my hand on somebody's shoulder or, in a
supportive way. Or,
right.
Yeah.
But I have learned, and I've taught myself this in the workplace, because I don't ever want to be misunderstood. I don't want somebody to take that gesture that I meant, honestly, in a very innocent way, and I don't want them to misunderstand it. So I'm very, very conscious about that,
right, because
I tend to be that kind of person that would, put an arm around somebody. If I know them, I just don't, but I just made the decision. I will not, when I am at work, I do not touch people. I just do not touch other people when I'm at work.
If anything, we've been taught that over the last 2.5 years. But Steve makes a really good point from YouTube. He says, never lay your hands on anyone these days. Chances are high they'll accuse you of SA, also known as sexual assault.
Yeah.
So don't, it's,
That's just smart, I think. That's just good common sense. Keep your hands off other people. What else are they saying? Oh, don't be a no-show. Don't make reservations and then just not show up. I don't even really make reservations all that much, do we?
No.
At restaurants? I can't remember the last time I made it was for you. You and I were going out someplace and I had called in. I haven't done that in the longest time.
we're not that fancy.
And it's not that you're not worth it, but
no,
I'm not saying that by any means. But.
No, we're your common everyday people where we just like to go to, places where we can relate. Yeah. But don't chat on your cell phone all night. Well,
right.
No shit. I know I shouldn't swear, but come on.
Again, it's just common sense.
Here, I'm just going to sit here and do, well, I guess it doesn't work very good with headphones on.
But I hate that. Do you not hate that? Because I've been at restaurants and you can hear somebody, they're 3 or 4 tables away. And if you're like me, my voice goes up when I'm on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
My voice goes up when I'm in front of a microphone. I speak at a louder volume normally. Do I not? Then I do, because we've talked about this. She's like, hey, you got to keep your voice down.
Well, I mean, 20-some years, you're used to having to project a little bit more when you're in front of a microphone versus like when we're doing this in a closed room like this. Yeah, back it off a little, Belfridge.
Right. That's been the story of my life. But so when people are on the phone, I just don't think you realize how loud that is. And when I go into a restaurant, when I go into a movie theater, I mute my phone and I just do not look at it, right? I mean, she will vouch for me, and I will for her too. We go into a movie theater, we mute our phones, they go in my pocket. You know, I may during previews or whatever, you know, you maybe even take a photo of you and me, and we're going to see whatever we're going to see, and we'll post that. Then my phone goes in my pocket, and I'm not on it during the time the movie is playing. I just am not. I can't imagine being that way at dinner.
I think the only caveat to that one would be is if I'm going to dinner by myself. There have been times I've taken phone calls while I'm eating out by myself. Right. But again, I'm eating out by myself. If the server comes up, guess what? I tell the person I'm on the phone with, hey, give me a second. You know, because again, that server has
you're not going to leave the server standing there waiting for you?
Oh, my God.
I hate that when I see that.
But it's no different than, oh, well, we're going to open this can of worms. We're going here. You brought this article up. We're going here.
What now?
It's no different than when you're in the grocery store.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, when I go to the grocery store, I'm not there one by choice. I hate going to the grocery store. If I can, I will order my groceries and go pick them up, or I'll have them delivered if I can.
Right.
They've got that promo code, you're darn skippy, I'm using it. I hate going to the grocery store. But I especially hate. Now, yes, I've worked some part-time jobs where I've worked at grocery stores, and you got these people who are in the middle of the aisle on the phone. But here's the thing. When people are on the phone, they are completely oblivious to anything that's going on around them. Because then from going on one side of the aisle, they start drifting back and forth. It's like, get the hell out of my way.
Yeah, and imagine what it's like when they're driving.
Oh,
same kind of thing. I must admit, I have my phone in my hand when I go into the grocery store because that's my shopping list.
Yep.
I have my shopping list on my phone. So I have my phone in my hand. I'm not texting a friend. I'm not responding to somebody. That can wait until I leave. I just check off things as I buy them. You know, I want to make sure that I get everything because you just don't want to trust my memory at a grocery store.
Now, I will say this. There are some husbands that have gotten smart because you have video messaging or FaceTime or whatever.
Yes.
You know, instead of them drifting around the aisle going, well, they don't have this. Oh, they have this, you know, with their significant other. They just FaceTime them and be like, this is what's on the shelf. What do you want? They get their item and they go.
I don't mind that so much.
No. They do it. They get what they need. And none of this, well, you know, we got to talk about who's got to take who to baseball or something this week. And, you know, oh no, your mother-in-law's coming over. And
people in the grocery store, you could do a full hour just on that. Take it from me because I have talked about that for a full hour before.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
I won't. Probably get back on topic here. I'm sorry.
One of the other things they're saying is don't sit at a dirty table. You walk in, dirty table, don't sit at a dirty table.
Steve from YouTube says people that would sit at a dirty table because it was, or he's worked in food service, it kind of looks like here, but people would sit on a dirty table because it was their usual table. Got really annoyed when it annoyed the crap out of him, excuse me. Got me all in a tizzy here. When he worked in food service industry. I worked in food service for years before I started my current career. We owned a restaurant when I grew up, and then I worked in a restaurant when I was in college. I served, I worked back of house, front of house. I've done it all. And yeah, people
She's a good cook, by the way. She's a fantastic cook.
will have to do a cooking stream some night. But I swear, people sometimes when they would just walk in and then they sit at that table, the usuals we had, like at the business we owned, they understood. We had one server, we had one cook. That's what it was. It was a mom and pop shop. Half the time, if it was in the morning, they'd clean the table themselves because they just kind of knew that was the business. They didn't really ever say anything because they knew you were busy. But no, when I worked at a truck stop, I mean, crap, you'd have people all the time that would sit down at dirty tables and then they sit there and look at you. Bearing in mind, the people that were there prior to them had just gotten up. There is no way somebody could go like light speed over there to go clean that table. It's like, really?
Yeah. But I will say on the other end of that, and this is not an excuse for sitting at dirty tables, but I have walked into restaurants where virtually every table is dirty.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's when I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Then it's time to fire the staff because they're not getting it done.
But I mean, the vast majority of people are usually pretty good at
Yeah.
getting their stuff bust. And
That's not the case as most places.
No.
Or excuse me, that's not the case most places that you go.
And like where we're at, I mean, there are so many restaurants in our city that if you have crappy service, the word's going to get out and you're not going to be open very long.
Yep.
And and it's hard to shake that stigma of having crappy service, especially when you just get rolling. So, you know, it works to your advantage.
I agree. Because I will not hesitate to go somewhere else.
No, like the place you and I typically go for breakfast. We typically go to like Original Pancake House. I mean, their staff are so on top of stuff. I mean,
It's incredible. What it is embarrassing to a lot of other places.
It is. I mean, their servers are just top shelf. I mean,
Yep.
you've got everything you need right off the bat. You don't have to really ask. Half the time they're anticipating what you want. And
Yep.
They got it already. Yeah, I'm really impressed with their service. I like that.
Absolutely.
Especially for breakfast, because they're meant to turn those tables over, get you in and out. Breakfast is not a meal you want to sit around for 2 hours and freaking.
I would agree. I want to get my day started. Yeah,
I want to enjoy my breakfast.
Have a little coffee, maybe sit just for a little bit, and up and at 'em. Away you go.
Right.
Oh, and one of the other things they say is don't ask staffers to control the weather. So they're saying that if you're out on the outdoor patio on a hot, sunny day,
Go sit inside.
yeah, which, what do I do? Most of the time, when do you and I sit on the patio? Virtually never.
Spring, and that's
Yeah. The weather's got to be just right. There must be no wind. And you know how it is in South Dakota.
Oh.
Yeah, there's never no wind.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yell, but yes, go sit inside.
I am just not one to sit outside.
Oh, I don't want bugs in my meal.
So that was an interesting article, and most of that I think is just common sense, which is not so common anymore.
Common sense is a superpower. Maybe that's our new superhero we kick off as Captain Common Sense or Commodore Common Sense.
I like Commodore Common Sense. Yeah.
Able to wade. His superpower is able to wade through the mundane and the usual through his sheer reasonable logic. Jesus.
Funny.
So I think next I've got is since we're talking a little bit about video games, we got a new to geek this week. We haven't done this for a couple of weeks. You're a retro gamer from way back.
Way back. Like before she was born back.
Oh boy. One of the games we had started talking about was Zork.
Yes. And, we talked about Commodore 64 recently.
A few weeks back, yeah.
Yeah. And there were so many great games with the Commodore 64. And I got to thinking there was an old company that was named Infocom that was around. And Infocom made a lot of adventure games. These were text-based adventure games. So in other words, and you can, I think we've got it up on the screen here for you. You can see where it would tell you, it'd welcome you to the game, and then it would tell you what you see. You know, it will say you're at the west of the house. You were standing in an open field west of a white house with a boarded front door. There was a small mailbox here. And then you would type in, okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to like move? Do you want to go west, or do you go east, or do you want to open the mailbox? Now, if there's a mailbox there, what would you do? Open the mailbox. And I remember this in Zork. This is the great underground empire. You open the mailbox, and there's a letter inside. You open it up, and basically it welcomes you to the game. As I recall, it's been a long time since I played Zork, but there were a lot of those kind of text-based games. Zork was one of the best. There were quite a number of them.
What was the name of the company, the studio that made them?
Infocom.
Infocom.
Yeah, they were around from June of 1979 to May of 1989. So they lasted for quite a while.
So what other notable games did they develop? Or
they had a bunch of them. They came out. Now, I was playing them. This is in the early 80s. So I was playing them on the Commodore 64. They made these games were available on other computers as well, not just the Commodore. I played them on the Commodore 64. There was one called Deadline. Deadline was a mystery, and you had to solve them. It was a murder. A murder had taken place, and you had to solve the murder. So you had a certain amount of time, deadline, in order to solve who committed the murder. And I did, actually. I solved that game. Proud of myself. Is that not sick when you're proud of yourself for your accomplishments in a
when it comes to video games? No, I totally am proud of myself. Because how many times haven't I been playing video games? And now my version of a honey-do list, I mean, everybody sees a honey-do list. And it's like, oh, hey, can you take the trash out? Oh, hey, can you help me with the recycling? No, my honey-do list is, hey, Greg, can you come over here and beat this boss for me?
That's true story.
Between that and opening pickle jars, I mean,
you didn't like the pickle jar opener I bought for you to help you with that thing.
Well, you know the real reason why I still have you do it.
What? To make me feel like I'm doing something.
Makes you feel special.
So Deadline was another game. There was one called Starcross, which was on the game jacket. It said, the challenge was issued eons ago from light years away, and only you can solve it. And I'm like, that appeals to my ego when they say things like that. Only you. You know what? Hey, only me, Katie. Not you, me. Only I can solve this game.
So was that your Perry Mason game?
That was a great game, by the way. That came a little bit later. The Perry Mason game. Do you have did I send you a photo of that? I don't think I did.
No, I can find it here while you're talking.
I was at the time, early 80s. That is when TBS was running Perry Mason reruns till the cows came home. They would do like 2 hours daily of Perry Mason. And I would watch some of it every day. And they came out with this, there it is. They came out with this Perry Mason game. Go up to the top of the screen. You already passed it. Right up top of the screen.
Yeah.
There. That's it. That's the actual, that was the package. So I saw that and I'm like, oh, that caught my eye. Had to have that game. And yep, I solved it. That's right. Broke her down right on the witness stand.
Steve says Perry Mason was followed by the Beastmaster every day.
I'm still watching Perry Mason. Is that some of the other? I just love that show. Boy, Earl Stanley Gardner's family must have been rubbing. But those were all great games. Just a lot of fun.
So where does one start to dig in if I wanted to say pick these retro games up? What's a good one for me to start on?
Zork, probably. Zork. There was they had later on, they had a 3-pack Zork 1, 2, and 3. You could get them in a single set.
Mm-hmm.
And those games were great. But I'd say that if you were dipping your toe into the water of a text gaming, adventure gaming, that would be the place to start.
These seem to remind me of those books that I always had in the elementary school where it's like you read it. It's like, all right, if you want to make this choice, you turn to this page.
Yeah.
If you make this choice, you turn to this page.
Yeah.
Or you get the really messed up one, and no matter what page you turn to, you die.
Well, and it would tell you, like, if you would tell it you want to go in a certain direction, go west. And it will say, you cannot go west. Or it might say, there is a tree blocking your path to the west.
Yeah.
So then you can say, move tree. And it might open the path up. And then you can proceed to the west. What you don't want to do is just go, I can't go this way. I guess I'll go another way. Because there might have been something pretty great down that path if you'd been able to take it.
Yep. Cool.
And that's what I loved about it. It's like reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you read a book and you bring it to life in your mind, and that's how those adventure games were. And one of the things that I loved was, now again, this is coming out about the time I was in college, so we're talking early 80s. I'm in college at the time, out of high school, and in college, and we would sit around on a Friday night and we would play these games together. You know, we would choose what the actions would be. We'd say, we'll try this, do this, you know, and it was great fun. We just had a great time doing that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So, all right, if I'm going to pick up Zork, or maybe if I want to sound, say, reasonably educated on the subject.
Okay.
And I want to try and baffle somebody that I am somewhat knowledgeable. What are the things I need to know about when I'm talking about turn-based games?
I think if you could just even mention Zork. They'll go, awesome, yeah, absolutely.
It's enough to get the conversation
You really
started.
want to blow them away, mention the leather goddesses of Phobos.
The leather goddesses of Phobos.
That's an actual game from Infocom.
I'm not even going to doubt you on that one.
I don't know about that game. I never played that game. Actually, I bought a lot of these on clearance then also. Came up, you know, they were out, and then you would find them being cleared out, and I picked up a lot of them at that time. And so I had another one that was called Starcross, which was a space adventure.
Right.
That was pretty challenging. That one I actually needed you had a map and everything, and that one was complicated as I remember, but
it's almost like you're
such fun.
It's almost like you're combining your Dungeons and Dragons or turn-based games like that with a video game.
Absolutely. And it's very much the same kind of thing, because there is a gnome and you kill gnome with sword, you know, if you got a sword or whatever, you know, and you would have to say, because if you just said kill the gnome, it said you cannot kill the gnome with your hands.
You had to be specific.
You got to be very specific. So, and maybe you needed to use the magic sword. So
I couldn't just mean mug them.
No, that only works with me.
Oh.
And the dog, the dynamic director is, you mean mug him, he'll whimper.
Yeah, that's the dynamic director right now. He's crashed out on the floor. At least he's not barking. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about Zork and how I can convince somebody on I actually know something about old text-based games.
I do love those old Commodore 64 games.
Uh-oh, he got up. What do we got this week on the rundown?
Oh, let's take a look. We've got a number of different things that I wanted to share with you. There is a lot of speculation as to whether Ezra Miller should remain with the Flash. As you know, Ezra Miller has been in the news recently, involved with a young woman. Should he remain with the Flash? We'd love for you to comment. Share your comments with us on whether Ezra Miller should remain with the Flash, because there are reports now that DC is considering dropping him from the Flash after it's released. A lot of stories in the last 24 hours even as to what may happen with Ezra Miller. We've got two words of advice for DC at this point. Grant Gustin. Get Grant Gustin to play the Flash, reshoot all of his scenes. Ezra Miller. It's happened before. Yeah. You know, I was thinking, you and I talked about it. When Kevin Spacey got into that hot water, you know, he was in a film called All the Money in the World. Yep. Kevin Spacey was supposed to play J. Paul Getty, and they brought in Christopher Plummer, and they reshot all the Kevin Spacey's scenes. And it's a little bit, you know, it'd be one thing if they were in pre-production, they hadn't started the movie, and, you know, you'd be at a point where you'd say, okay, well, you haven't even written a script yet. Let's just scrap it and let's just move forward with other projects. At this point, it would make sense to me if they came back and recast it, just reshot it. At least it would make sense to me. We told you recently that Joaquin Phoenix will return for Joker 2, but who's going to play Harley Quinn? We're hearing now it'll be Lady Gaga will be playing Harley Quinn. What do you think of that?
Oh, the last I'd heard, she's in talks about it right now. Yeah. And I know, I think initially you were kind of like, man, not so much, but you know, she's just kind of awkward enough that she might be able to pull off a Harley Quinn. And she's got her own bag of cats that she likes to drag around, but I think surprisingly when it's time for her to perform, she actually does a really good job.
Sure. Well, and I think we're at a point now, especially with Hollywood, there's so many people dragging dead cats around that I don't know that I'm going to be all that fussy at this point.
Meredith from YouTube says she was Lady Gaga was really good in American Horror Story.
Interesting.
If I remember right, that was on FX.
Yeah, it was. Great point. Also, Game of Thrones is going to be returning with a Jon Snow sequel, and I'm excited about this. Kit Harington is going to return. He'll be reprising the role, and we loved him when you and I watched Game of Thrones. Thought he was great.
The thing I'm not liking so much that I'm hearing with this sequel stuff is that it's going around, and the whole concept of this sequel is to try and tie up all the loose ends that left fans wanting from the season 8 series finale of Game of Thrones.
That's going to be a big job.
No kidding.
Also, Lightyear is getting the new Buzz Lightyear film that opened this past weekend is underperforming at the box office. It earned $51 million this weekend. Jurassic World Dominion still in the top spot with $58.7 million for Jurassic World Dominion. Top Gun Maverick followed in third with $44 million. So Top Gun Maverick has been out for weeks now and is almost rivaling what Lightyear earned in its first weekend. And then that was on Friday, fell off on Saturday, fell off on Sunday.
And what's crazy is Lightyear has fairly good Rotten Tomato scores too.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know that
I give it a day.
You start getting into that film, there's politics as there is in everything anymore. I don't know that I'd want to take my kids to see it. Whether that's going to keep people from taking their kids to see it, I think remains to be seen.
I think we just need a good old-fashioned Toy Story movie and call it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked a lot about Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and some of the props from that show have been on display at a Chicago gallery exhibit, and these are hot. They are really hot. Thing I love about these props that they did for Strange New Worlds is they took props from the original series, from Star Trek, the original series, and they modeled these props after them and then improved, made them their own. So the phaser is you can see there, it's a phaser, looks like a phaser. A communicator is black with the gold lid and the dial spinning. They're different, but very, very similar. And I thought this is such a great example, and I appreciate, because you and I watched a piece on this. I mean, they made a very small number of these hand phasers, for example. They're $8,000 a piece for the hero versions, $8,000 a piece. But they took great care, and I thought, okay, these are truly, they're artisans, and they're respecting the source material. They're respecting the fans. They know what fans want to see, and that's why it works so tremendously, I think. Pretty great piece on these, how they've assembled those prop models.
Because if I remember right, like in the photo that's up on the screen right now, the one on the
left,
it's the new one.
The one on the right.
Yeah,
Well, excuse me,
right.
no, on our right. On our right.
Yep.
As you look at the photo on the right is the phaser on the right's the new one. The one on the left is from the original series.
Yep.
So pretty cool. And really, a hat tip to the people who are doing that show, because they get into the props and they show the care that they take with every piece that they do. And I'm like, these are people who enjoy what they're doing and appreciate the history of the franchise. And that's what you want. That's
Absolutely.
what we're completely lacking right now in Obi-Wan. That's what a lot of people hate the new Obi-Wan series. It's just not paying any attention or, not giving any kind of care to the source material. It's just absolute nonsense.
So in the chat, what I've dropped was a link. This is from StarTrek.com, and there's a really good 5-minute video where one of their prop masters goes through and they show you some detailed stuff on what they did with the original versus the Strange New Worlds ones.
Right. Yeah, and the tricorder and the even, as I said, some of the other props. There is one where T'Pring opens up this, it's like a gift box, a Vulcan gift box with a Vulcan jewelry inside. And the care that they took with crafting that, they could have just put it in some kind of box, and no. They went to great care using Vulcan designs. And when you have people that are taking that kind of care in the props that they're using in the show, that's an attitude that catches on. Other people then kind of rise to the occasion. Yeah. And I think it's one of the reasons why you and I have really enjoyed that show.
But I mean, they even go into the detail, like when they were making the tricorders, that they didn't just take some random piece of material for the strap. No, they actually used a leather strap because that's the material.
The original
falls a certain,
did. Yep.
Well, the original did. But it also, that type of material, it falls a certain way, it acts a certain way, it sways a certain way.
Yep.
Just the amount of thought that some of those people put into the props they make it's pretty cool.
It's absolutely incredible. And then to do pretty amazing things, because there's a medical scanner. McCoy used to carry a medical tricorder, and his scanner was tied in. He had a scanner that communicated with the tricorder, and you could see the readings on the screen, allegedly. He can see the readings on the screen. So now in the bottom of the tricorder, you hit a button and the scanner pops out of the bottom, comes out of the bottom. It's housed right in the actual unit. This is really, really cool stuff that they've done. So,
they used a lot of magnets to put stuff together.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're a fan of the original series, I think you'll really enjoy the care that they've taken in trying to do that new show. It's one of the reasons why I like it so much. And then finally, tough times have fallen on Amber Heard. So after you remember, she was ordered to pay Johnny Depp $8.4 million. Now she's reduced to shopping at a discount store TJ Maxx. And there she is.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with TJ Maxx.
No, actually, I like TJ Maxx.
I don't think she could look more homely, though, in her getup.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's, let's be gentle. She's having some tough times right now.
I said homely. I could have used another descriptor.
Believe me, as you know, I'm not an Amber Heard fan.
Johnny Depp will never see a dime of that money.
So that's all I've got in this week's rundown.
Well, that leaves one more segment for us, and it's, of course,
The Cave of Wonders.
Huh? Cave of Wonders?
what do you got for us this week?
In the Cave of Wonders, these are called flicker rings. And these are rings that kids would have purchased in gumball machines. Yeah, I know, I'm not a kid. It's a little sad that an adult is purchasing them now. But this is a complete set of Batman flicker rings that, again, kids purchase in gumball machines. And as you move those rings with light, then the images change. There are actually multiple images on each of these. You can't see this in the photo, obviously.
You can a little bit if you look at the ones on what would be the right side of the screen. Here would be the alternative.
So there are multiple images in there, depending on how you turn it to the light. And these are allegedly our original flicker rings. There is here's the thing. There are people that have purchased those shiny things, sheets of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're sheets of them.
Yeah.
And what they will do then is they will take like old flicker rings or whatever, and they'll cut them up, and then they'll insert these. And so there are things you have to look for as to whether it's an original flicker ring or whether you've been sold a bill of goods.
So how do you tell if it's an original?
The edges will be rounded. You get down on those images. So show the close-up again of the 6. There you go. See how those edges are rounded rather than squared?
Yep.
Yeah. Oftentimes they're just squared onto the ring. Then you know you've got phonies. Now, I'm not saying that somebody could have trimmed these, but generally that for those who they thought, well, you just put that on there, So there are a host of fakes that are out there. Whether or not mine are all original, or I'm really not sure. I believe them to be original, and I dare you to tell me any different, baby. But they're actually quite sought after, especially original flicker rings. So I got the entire set.
You'd have had to spend a lot of quarters to get those all out of the gumball machines.
Yes. To get all the ones you wanted.
Yeah.
And I spent even more than that buying them now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Well, thank you.
We always have something good out of the Cave of Wonders.
Well, it's nice of you to humor me. Thank you.
Well, we were talking about that earlier. I'll always share my toys with you, but I'm not good at it.
Oh, I told her earlier today, I said, I know how it'll be. I'll come home some afternoon. Packages will be opened. She'll be playing with my figures down on the floor. Oh, hi. Oh, no.
I don't think you have to worry about
That'd
that.
be a surefire way to make me cry, I think.
You know, you don't play with my kayaks. I leave your bat
That's the least I can do.
museum
Right.
alone. Well, what else do you have?
That's all I've got.
All you got on the rundown?
Do we have anything else?
I think that's it. But kind of like I always, just remember, if you like the content we're sharing with you, go ahead and give us a like on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever you're watching us at. Leave a comment, share this with your friends.
Yeah. And again, if you like it, give us thumbs up, not thumbs down. We appreciate the feedback anyway. And for those of you who comment, that's always very much appreciated.
It's always, like I said, Greg and I can sit here and talk, but it's always great to hear what your take on things are. And, you know, if you're around, go ahead and subscribe as well.
Yeah. And if you know anybody else you think would be interested, please give them a heads up. Tell them we do this every Monday night, 6:30 Central Time. And glad you're here. So we'll see you, barring anything else here. We'll see you again next Monday night, same time, same channel.